Hello everybody, I'm Tynan Sylvester, and this is RimWorld's Summer 2020 Major Update. So let's take a look at all the new stuff. Utility gear. So previously we had shield belts and smoke pop belts. We've now expanded this into a system of utility items. Each character can have one utility item equipped at a time. And the old ones still exist, although they are improved, and we've added some new ones. So the old ones would be like smoke pop belt and shield belt. The smoke belt is improved in that now you can trigger it manually, and you can trigger it several times, and you can reload it. So it's a bit more usable that way, as in you don't actually have to get shot for it to automatically trigger, as happened before. And the AI will use it effectively as well. Some of the other old items were also reworked to be part of this as well. So now you can carry, for example, Psychic Shock Lance in this slot and use it several times before it's expired. So this would make it a lot more easy to use something like that on a raid or as part of combat as an emergency measure if you really need it at that moment. Automatic caravan setup. Now the caravan setup screen automatically loads enough food and medicine for the journey, and you can't override this as desired. It's all managed on this new tab we placed here for food and medicine. And we added some new visual effects. Building destruction, orbital bombardments look cooler with incoming shots. EMP state on mechs and turrets, just little details. We added a new major quest, the shuttle defense. An Imperial shuttle has been damaged. It needs a place to land, and they're being hunted by raiders. So if you accept the quest, the shuttle will crash land on your colony map. And there are some civilians and some Imperial soldiers inside. The civilians won't fight, you just have to protect them, and the soldiers will protect the shuttle. And the basic concept here is some raiders are going to attack the shuttle, not attack you. And you have to defend them. And then after some number of hours, a rescue shuttle will appear. And I'm really hoping to get some of those commando-like get to the chopper moments. The new Bandit Camp mission is similar to the old Bandit Camp quest, except now the quest giver will actually give you a shuttle and bring you there and wants a specific number of troops to help attack the Bandit Camp. So this is going to create more of a self-contained combat scenario where instead of just throwing every economic resource that you have at the fight, it's more of a controlled thing where you get a certain number of colonists and you're going to fight it, and then you get a ride home afterwards. But the big major quest is the Refugee Hospitality quest. So the concept here is a ragged group of travelers will arrive, and they ask to stay at your colony for a while. And they don't have any rewards to offer because they're poor, but there are other reasons to take them in. So for example, they will work for you during their time at the colony, and that can be real useful. If you keep their mood high, you can actually recruit them. And because some of them will join you permanently if they're happy staying there. And after they leave, there's a chance that they'll pay you back later. So one new aspect of this quest that kind of drives all this is that the travelers aren't actually part of any major faction, they're just their own mini faction. So you can actually mess with them and have more choices in how you approach the quest than you would in the traditional quests. Like in the old, noble hospitality quests, if you capture the noble or kill them, or betray them, then the entire Empire faction would be against you. But that doesn't apply here, because these guys are just part of their own little group. So you can do whatever you want to them. You can capture them, you can harvest them, you can execute them, you can sell them into slavery. Although they might rebel or they might flee if you try to do these things. There's also a chance that they'll betray you and attack you. And there's a chance that some other party will contact you and offer a reward to betray and kill them. So overall, the concept here is that the quest is designed to break out of the kind of predictable challenge plus reward structure of the old school quests and create more of a situation that's fluid and unpredictable and can go many different ways and offers many different options for the player. The Bestower. So no longer are titles from the Empire given instantly when enough royal favor, which is now renamed to honor, when enough honor has been acquired. And they don't send you items to upgrade your psychic link either via drop pod. Instead, we've integrated these together into a ceremony. Now, the Empire was always supposed to be kind of spiritual and ceremonial, and this really goes with that. When you get enough honor to upgrade the title on one of your characters, you call the Bestower, who is this kind of ceremonial guy who shows up in a shuttle with a retinue of guards, and he's going to go to the colonist throne room and confirm that it satisfies the title requirements and does a bestowing ceremony there. So at the point of the ceremony, your colonists will get their new title, as well as getting the Psylink upgrade, and so on and so forth. And you can betray the bestower as well. We made sure to put some rewards in his inventory that would make it meaningful to do that, if that's something you want to do. permit selections. So when a colonist gains a royal title, you can now choose which royal permits you want to come with the title. Previously, a given title always had the same permit that went with it. But now you actually just get a permit point, and you can use it on whatever permit you want, as long as you have the minimum title for that. And there's more permits than before. The new permits would be the transport shuttle. This is the big one. Here you can call a shuttle, and the Empire will send you one. You can load whatever you want in it and send it on a one-way trip wherever you want across the world map. So you can use this for attacking, you can use it for rescue, you can use it just to travel around, to go and trade. You can use it to send gifts, so you can put some prisoners or some gold on it or something and just send them to an enemy or a allied faction base. It's just another way of doing transport, and I think people are gonna like this one. We've also added the ability to call laborer teams and laborer gangs. So these just bring laborers to work for you. It's basically the civilian equivalent of calling military aid. And finally, you can now call orbital strikes and upgrade that to orbital salvos. These aren't quite as large as the old orbital bombardment targeter, the item, which is now a utility item, but they're still very powerful. So if you want the Empire to bombard somebody for you, this is how you call them and ask them to do it. Psycasts. So I wanted to expand psycasts outside of combat. And the issue with that was the way that their cost worked, you would just get a bit of neural heat, which would dissipate in seconds. So if we added something that had some sort of non-combat use, it would create an incentive for the player to constantly be casting this all the time, and it would just be a micromanagement burden. So it didn't work. However, recently, we've added the concept of Psyfocus, and now we have Psycasts, which can spend Psyfocus. And that's a long-term resource which is built up by meditation, so it actually makes it possible for us to create Psycasts that do not break the game, but also have long-term benefits, and that's what we've done. So there are 9 new Psycasts in the game, and let's just go through them. The first one is Solar Pinhole. So here, you're generating a microscopic skip gate. It's linked to a star, and all it does is allow a little bit of solar material to leak through. And so it just creates a light, and it creates some heat. The Word of Trust. This lets your Psycaster use psychic suggestion in social interaction to reduce a prisoner's resistance to recruitment. The Word of Joy makes your Psycaster use happy and calming words while using psychic suggestion to implant some sort of fuzzy, joyous loop in the target's mind. So this suppresses their uncomfortable thoughts and it makes them feel good. It's just a mood improvement. However, it does reduce their consciousness, so it's something you'd want to use in situations where you're worried about someone having a mental break. Word of Love. This one's fun. So if you want to hook up some specific colonists in your colony, you can use this to dramatically increase one person's romance attempts and romantic interest in another person. So you can use it to make 2 people fall in love. You can use it to have one person fall for the caster, or you can use it to force the caster to love someone else. This can actually be just for fun, but it can also have strategic value, since these relationships do make a difference in how well the colony does. Word of Serenity. Sometimes when someone's on a mental break, you really want to calm them down without necessarily beating them unconscious, and this will help you do that. The Psyfocus cost is different depending on the mental break level that the target's experiencing. Word of Inspiration. This essentially just gives the target a random inspiration. So if you're trying to get a legendary footstool or something, this is how you would go about doing it. Chunk Skip. This one's mainly for bringing cover into combat, and it just grabs some slag or rock chunks nearby, and it pulls them into a certain position. So you can use it to lay down cover if you're doing an approach or an attack. Far Skip. Now this one's a little bit more interesting. So this one moves the caster, along with anyone standing near the caster, to some ally at a distant location. And this can teleport you across the entire planet. The only restriction is that there has to be an ally at the target point to provide some sort of psychic navigation beacon. So if you want to send one-person caravans out to, say, a fight location, and then fire skip some reinforcements to join them, that will totally work. If you want to use it to get home quickly, that will always work as long as there is somebody at home to get to, and so on and so forth. And this will work on downed people too, so it's a great way to reinforce combat or to pull people out of combat if a situation goes bad. And finally, Neuroquake. This is the first and currently only epic Psycast. Every creature on the map outside of a small safe circle near the caster gets driven violently insane, and this includes animals, people, mechanoids. The downside is the caster will go into a psychic coma for a while afterwards, and the Neuroquake echoes inflict pain on everyone for many kilometers around, and this actually causes diplomatic consequences. So this is essentially kind of a nuke that you can use in emergency situations if the colony is going to be overrun or something like that. New gear. Royalty has some new gear in it. Let's take a look. The Broadshield Pack. So this is a consumable utility item similar to Smoke Pop Belt, but instead of making smoke, it drops a Broadshield projector, which creates a shield for 30 seconds. This is something you can build, but you have to get a shield unit which is looted from the mechanoid clusters because people can't build these shield units. It's a tactical aid and the AI will use it as well. We have a jump pack now, which lets you do tactical long jumps. I see this as something that would pair well with melee weapons. So if you want to get up close and personal real quickly, then this is how you do it. You can also use it for tactical retreats, flanking, things like that. We have Locust Armor, Grenadier Armor, and Phoenix Armor. These are variations on the Recon, Marine, and Cataphract armor. They're slightly weaker as standard armor, but each one has a built-in utility to it. So the Locust Armor has a built-in jump pack. The Grenadier Armor will launch a couple grenades from a shoulder-mounted launcher. So you can use that as sort of a special tactical add-on. And the Phoenix Armor is specialized in flame warfare. So it has a flame launcher, which will launch a huge flame projectile and light people on fire. And it's also extremely resistant to temperature and to fire. So if you want to go indoors and just burn the building down and emerge from the fire, then this is how you would do it. Persona weapon traits. We had Persona weapons for a while, and they were weapons that would bond with one character, and they were super powerful. Now they actually have individual traits to reflect their individual personalities, to kind of pay off that fictional concept. Each weapon has 1 or 2 traits. Some of the traits are good, some are bad, some are just different. And they affect the weapon's market value. So if a weapon has a lot of good traits, it's going to cost more, and vice versa. Meditation enhancers. Previously, meditators would use a focus object to increase the effect of their meditation and gain more focus. Now, those objects can also be enhanced by other nearby objects. So instead of just meditating to one beautiful sculpture, you would want to have a whole room of sculptures because they enhance each other's effects. So the 3 variants of this are the Anima Tree and the Anima Stone will now both be enhanced by nearby Anima Stone. So you can certainly meditate to the Anima Tree, but if you build a little shrine around it with Anima Stones, which are quite hard to find, its effect will be boosted. Sculptures are enhanced by other sculptures, as I mentioned, and graves will be enhanced by other graves, especially if they have people in them, especially if those people are related to whoever's meditating. We also added a flame meditation focused. This is just for pyromaniacs. But if you have a pyromaniac Psycaster, he or she will now focus on torches or campfires or braziers, and they are also enhanced by nearby flame sources as well. So if you want to make a Temple of Fire for some pyromaniac Psycaster, I really encourage that. The Gloomlight Mechanoid building. This building has 2 purposes. It's something that's going to appear as part of mech clusters, basically randomly. It can be reinstalled as a light or deconstructed for valuable resources, but it's fragile. So if you're just indiscriminately bombarding the mech cluster, it's going to get destroyed. So similar to the unstable power cell, it's something that you can claim as a reward, but that really depends on you approaching the mech cluster in a specific, less destructive way. So it's kind of a choice reward thing, implicitly. There's a new incident where instead of raiding you, pirates or whoever will set up some sort of machine at a distance on a nearby world site to harass you, and that'll be a weather changer or a smoke generator or something like that. So you just have to send a caravan out to take this thing out, and that should kind of balance the combat between defensive and offensive fights, which is something that we've been working on for a while. Empire bases now have more stuff in them. So you got your shuttle pad, and you got your throne room. So now sometimes if you go attack an Empire base, there will be a shuttle pad on it with a shuttle, because the Empire has shuttles, and it's just kind of a bit of visual interest. Same with the throne room. Speech inspirations. So for a while we've had noble speeches, and it said, oh, they gave an inspirational speech, but no one was ever actually inspired. There was only a mood boost. So now there's a chance when someone hears an inspiring speech that they will get an inspiration in addition to the mood boost. We've added some new disease incidents. We got paralytic abasia, which makes someone paralyzed from the waist down for a while. We got blood rot, which doesn't actually hurt them unless they can't get enough medicine, in which case it kills them. And we have a new population gaining incident. So sometimes someone will join you, but they have paralytic abasia, and you can choose how you want to handle this. So, you can heal them and feed them while they recover, and then they'll join you. Or you can sell them to slavery, or just kill them and sell their organs, or however you want to handle it. As always, it's about choice. We did a big visual pass on the skip psycasts. So as you can see, it now kind of resembles more of a charged black hole or a spherical cut in space-time. This new effect is more science-themed, and it avoids some of the magic-like elements that kind of gave a bit of too much of a Dungeons and Dragons feel. Because RimWorld has always been really a hard sci-fi universe, and I've been wanting to move back in that direction. Similarly for invisibility, it's now more of a spatial visual distortion effect, and we removed the glowing outline aspect that it used to have. And these come with new sound effects as well. We have a new custom playstyle system. So you can now select the custom playstyle setting, and this opens up a new menu that allows you to customize a large number of different settings exactly as you prefer. So you could make a game that has lots of enemies, but high yields from crops and mining and things like that. Whatever combination you like. There's a lot of new settings, so let's take a look at a couple of them. First, Storyteller ignores wealth. So this is a completely new thing, which is not actually part of any of the existing difficulty settings. The basic concept is that previously, the storyteller looks at a lot of different factors to determine how much challenge to throw at the player. And this includes time, it includes recent damage, it includes things like population, and it includes things like colony wealth. And what this does normally is it has the effect of matching the challenges that you're going to see more or less against the player's ability to combat them, with some slack in there so that you can actually get ahead and so that you can catch up if you're taking big hits. And this is pretty essential to make the game stay on track for long games, but it also creates some weird situations for superpower gamers who really want to optimize everything, because they end up in a situation where they're incentivized to do things like destroy or reduce their own wealth. Which does make sense in a narrative way, because if you have giant piles of gold, more people would come after you. So it's not that it's totally nonsense, but it's still something that bothers some people. So we made a global change that essentially makes it so that the storyteller ignores the hit points of items when considering wealth. So that removes this ridiculous exploit we had where people would damage their own legendary sculptures and things like that to reduce their wealth levels artificially. But there's still the incentive to avoid getting too much stuff. So for players who want to try more of a pure challenge approach to the game, you can replace wealth with time. And if you select this setting, then the system will ignore your wealth completely for that game, and instead you simply use a factor based on time since you started that particular colony. What this means is that if you fall behind, it's not going to do anything to let you catch up. And if you're developing slowly, it's not going to do anything to let you catch up. But if you're getting ahead, it's also not going to speed up to kind of match you. So it is definitely very easy to fall off track with this kind of difficulty setting. But for those few power gamers who are really interested in this specific experience, I think it's appropriate. And they can now try that out. But I don't recommend it for everybody. It's more of an exotic thing for a specific kind of person. Player-friendly fire chances. The game has always used a little bit of cheating to stop player-friendly firing between your own colonists. So now you can adjust that specifically. All the default settings have it at the same level. Colonist insta-kill chance. Now this is another completely new thing. This doesn't exist in any of the old builds, and it's not in any of the default settings either. What it does is when your colonist takes a shot or a hit that would kill them instantly, like, for example, a charge lance shot to the brain, this will adjust the damage so that it doesn't actually kill them and leaves them alive. Now, they can still, of course, get shot and knocked down and bleed out, so there's still going to be death in the game. It's just, this affects how often your colonists would have the chance of being killed instantly, which I think can definitely be a valuable part of the story. But, some people prefer more of a chance to avoid those kinds of losses. This is kind of part of a larger philosophical tension in the game, since in a lot of traditional stories, if you're watching Star Wars or something like that, People just die as part of the story, and that can build up the tension and create tough situations. You know, if you're watching Game of Thrones and no one ever died, it would definitely be a weaker show. So that's part of good drama, but it can also be for people who are, you know, looking for a more game-like experience, not as rewarding as it should be. So this kind of lets you tweak and influence how much that's going to happen. Now, all the old difficulties are still there, including the most difficult one, which now you just have to choose from this custom playstyle setting menu, because we don't want to push that difficulty in front of people who might not be ready for it, because it's pretty hardcore. And there's a bunch more besides that, including tons of fixes. I hope you'll check out the full changelog or just play the game. In any case, thank you for listening. I appreciate you taking the time. I'm Tynan Sylvester. I tweet at Tynan Sylvester. Thanks to everybody who helped test. And that's it for now. I will see you guys next time.